let me press record. Okay, welcome everyone to this Women's Circle. Really lovely to have you on. You know, when I was thinking about doing this, I was actually going to do the Women's Circle. Usually I do it around the time of the new moon. So it was Chanuka. And I said, perfect, let me do it on Chanuka. And then I started thinking about it that, you know, Chanuka, there's so much light, there's so much inspiration. And after these holidays, I find these holidays are like this oasis of time. And then all of a sudden after, there's like kind of like a downer, you know? So I really felt like, you know what, let me do this after the holiday, after Hanukkah's over, and we can really see, because that's the amazing thing we're going to see about this new month, is that the energy actually of Hanukkah is so inherent in the entire month. I mean, Hanukkah, again, the new moon, Rosh Chodesh Tevet, actually happens during Hanukkah. And the energy of the first of the month, as we see, really does spill through the entire month. So we actually really see that so much during this month of Tevet. So, and again, this is a month, I want to remind everyone, this is the year of Hakel, which is the year that follows the Shemitah year, the Jubilee year in Israel. And it's called the year of unity, that the seventh year is the year of Malchut, which is the year of Shemitah. And we start this cycle again. We go up to the year of Chesed again. So this is really a year of love and kindness. And that's why there's the numerology for the word Ahava, which is love, is Echad, is one. So there's an energy this year specifically of joining together in groups, in unity, in what's called Hakel. And what I want to do, I mentioned this last month for whoever wasn't on, is that I want to make sure that every single month we go through the energy of the month and we really point out and connect to the energy of love that's inherent in the month. And because again, God's energy is, it said, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, that God is created the world and he recreates the world all the time, every moment, through the energy of love, through the energy of Chesed, of kindness. And it's really powerful this year. We have a powerful ability to connect to that energy, and I want to bring it out in the energy of the month. So as we go through the different elements and the different properties of the month, we're going to actually try to like bring out that message of love and unity in that. So let's start, first of all, how we're going to see again how Hanukkah, the holiday of Hanukkah, is intertwined in the energy and the entire essence of the month. So first of all, when we're looking at the months, the first thing that we want to look at is what is the etymology of Tevet. So we see that Tevet comes from the root word, which is Tov, which is good. Tov means good in Hebrew. And the first time that we actually see the word Tov is in Genesis. Right away in Genesis, when God created the light, it says, Vayar ta'or ki tov, that God saw the light and it was good. And the word or light is actually the 25th letter of the Torah, and the 25th word of the Torah. And Hanukkah, we know, is the 25th day of Kislev. So we see right away that the essence of this month is light, which is really the energy of Hanukkah, the energy of light. And that's inherent not only actually in the holiday of Hanukkah, but in the entire essence of the month. Another place that we see the root word for the word Tevet is in Deuteronomy, when it says that Aaron went up and he kindled the menorah, the candelabra in the temple. It says, Lehativcha et hanerot, that he literally kindled the candelabra. So Lehativcha means to kindle or to light up. So again, we see in this word of Tevet, we see this essence of Hanukkah, which is about illuminating the darkness, the illumination of light, which is just implanted in the entire month of Tevet, which is really powerful because again, we're coming off of these holidays, and these holidays are, this holiday, especially Hanukkah, is filled with so much light, and you can feel like, okay, it's over. And, you know, kind of that energy you feel you can't connect to as much palpably, but we see within the energy of the month of Tevet is this energy of light, of illumination, which is again connected to the light of our soul. It says, Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam, that man's soul is compared to a candle, that our soul is, we are light bodies. Just like this candle is always ascending upward, so too we have this soul within us that's always ascending up to its source, always striving to ascend up to its source. And that's really right away in the etymology for the word of Tevet. Now we're going to look at some fun historical facts for the month of Tevet. So one thing that most of us probably don't know, but in the Talmud, in the Gemara of Megillah, it says that Esther, she was actually chosen to go into the house of Achashverosh on the 10th month, on the month of Tevet. So on a very, it's called the pshat, on a very superficial level, what does it say? That Tevet is the coldest month. So Achashverosh, he was looking for like warmth, for companionship. So he chose Esther during this month. That's on the superficial level, on the pshat level. But if we go much deeper into what is the deeper meaning behind that, so on a deeper level, Achashverosh, that the king, is Kabbalistically, according to the mystical teaching, he is a representation of kingship in this world. He's a representation of God, of the King of all kings, of God in this world. And it says God took Esther. Esther is called Esther Hamalka. She is the embodiment of what's called Malchut, of royalty, of kingship in this world, in the physical world. And God brought this unification. He brought Malchut into his chamber in this month. So what is Malchut again? Malchut is the here and now, our physical reality. It's connected to earth. It's the lowest realms that could seem the most far, the most concealed of godliness. But yet, what do we see during this month? That there's this unification happening in this month, that what seems to be the most physical, the most concealed of godliness is actually united with its source during this month. Malchut rises up and is united with Hashem, with God and his essence during this month, which is a really powerful idea. Now, we also see that the sign of the month, the zodiac sign of this month is the Capricorn, which is like the goat, the Gedi. Now, this month is an earth sign. It's connected to the element of earth. And Capricorns in general, I happen to have 2 children that are Capricorns. They're very in like Malchut. They're very in this world. They're very grounded. They're very practical, very organized, very ambitious people. It's actually kind of like, it's fun to have kids that are Capricorns. They're really like responsible and very, you give them a job, you give them a task, they're on it, So that is successful. Yes, usually very successful, very goal-driven people. Because they're connected again to this earth energy, this energy of Malchut. But what do we see? So in one hand, that element could keep us very stuck in this world and very connected to work and success and making money and being very practical. But according to the Jewish mysticism, what do we learn? That the physicality is not a contradiction to godliness. The physicality is actually the greatest revelation of godliness in this world. That when we engage in physicality, we engage with it with a higher consciousness, then what are we doing? We're revealing actually godliness in this world. We're revealing God's essence right down here in this world. So this month, again, could have 2 different energies. On one hand, it could be, feel like a very practical, goal-oriented, this goat, sign of the month. But at the same time, we have to know that if it's used properly, it's able to reveal, being goal-oriented, practical in this world, to reveal God's essence, the highest level of godliness in this world. And that is really the goat. The goat, we have a lot of goats here in Israel. They're I love goats. I actually love, there's such sweet, cute animals. And you see them we have a lot of cliffs and a lot of mountains here up in the Upper Galilee. And they're climbers, right? They're always ascending upwards. They're climbers, goats. And that is this idea of that being in this world with this intention of growing, with this intention that I'm actually elevating this world, then we are unifying Malchut. We're unifying God's essence in this world. And we're raising that up. We're raising the sparks of this world actually up during this month. So that is what's really available for us in this month. But at the same time, we have the ability, if we don't have the right consciousness, and that's really what mysticism, Jewish mysticism really does. It expands our consciousness. It broadens our consciousness to realize, because if we're not understanding the purpose and the potential of being in the world and utilizing this world for the right purpose and for a godly purpose, then what can happen? We can toveya, we can drown in physicality. And that's the other etymology for the word tevet. Tevet also comes from the root word tovea, which literally means to drown. So either we can be very practical and be in the day-to-day in a way that's just not connected to spirituality, but this month teaches us that we have the ability in this month specifically to rise above that and not to drown in the physicality of the month, but to actually use it to connect to God and to connect to the highest parts of ourselves, and to actually really live what's called the Geula reality, which is actually to transform the physicality of this world into spirituality. And that's a really amazing energy that's available for us this month. And we see, we're just coming off of, we're almost entering into the new year. So the new year is really a time where there's a lot of New Year's resolutions and thinking about, goals for the coming year, and really, getting like practical with ourselves. Like, okay, what do I really want for the coming year? And we have the ability with this consciousness to bring godly awareness, godly consciousness into what we do, and that our goals, our everyday goals, and our being in this world and being practical and having goals and being goal-oriented actually can be used for a much higher purpose. And that is really inherent in the energy of this month. Does anyone have any comments or questions or anything? Feel free to unmute yourself. Okay, so let's move on. Now, another holiday that's in this month, or actually I wouldn't call it a holiday, but a significant day of the month, it's actually a fast day, which is the 10th of the month of Tevet. So what happened on the 10th of the month of Tevet is the day when the Babylonian king, Nebuchadnezzar, he surrounded the walls of Jerusalem. And that was the start of the destruction of the temple. Because when he surrounded the walls of Jerusalem, that was the beginning of the destruction. And that happened at the 9th of Av. So, and we see that actually the 10th of Av, according to Jewish law, is actually a very serious fast day, because it's actually the beginning of the whole process of the destruction. So it actually, most fast days cannot actually take place on a Shabbat or a Friday, but the 10th of Tevet is actually one of them that actually can. And it really represents the 10th of Tevet, the beginning of the destruction, the beginning of concealment, the beginning of darkness coming down into the world. Now, it could seem, again, that seems like very negative, and that gives this like negative connotation to Tevet. But as we see again, everything within this month, there's actually another energy, an opposite energy, because it says that God always created an opposite energy within everything in this world. And it's explained that when Nebuchadnezzar put this siege around the walls of Jerusalem, it wasn't actually with a negative intention, okay? It says that the word to put a siege in Hebrew is the word samach, which literally means in Hebrew, lismoach means to support or to buttress, which is the total opposite energy of destruction. He was literally surrounding the walls. And why was he surrounding the walls? Because it says that the whole reason that the destruction of the temple happened was because of baseless hatred. There was sinat chinam. People weren't getting along. So what did God do? He put Nebuchadnezzar as an agent to surround the walls in order to keep everyone inside the walls of Jerusalem, to keep everyone in Jerusalem. And because they were all together, the purpose was that they should work things out. They should actually be like, okay, they can't like escape the fights. They can't like escape the arguments and the disagreements and just leave. Instead, the walls were surrounded. Everyone was forced to stay within the city of Jerusalem. And the purpose was that they should be able to work things out with amongst each other, to really find peace and to find harmony within each other. So it really was, when Nebuchadnezzar surrounded these walls, it was lismoch, to buttress or to support them, to actually come to some sort of peaceful resolution. So again, on the surface, it could seem like destruction, but really, 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 there was the whole essence and the purpose of it was for the good. And that really, again, ties into the whole essence of Chanuka, right? Because the whole essence of Chanuka, that is in the darkness, we can access our greatest light. Like the whole idea on Chanuka, we have the oil, that is the olive oil. And the idea of the olive oil is the olives, they're crushed, right? That through the challenges, through our crushing, through what could feel like a brokenness, can actually come through our greatest light. We can actually come through to find our own inner light only through our own brokenness, through our own darkness. And that we see even within the whole energy of the month, and even within the fast day of the month, which could seem actually negative, but we see the purpose of it was positive. Listen, unfortunately, that's not what happened, and that's why the destruction continued. But if the Jewish people would have actually followed through and been able to make peace amongst each other, the whole destruction would never have happened. As we know that the whole destruction happens because of baseless hatred one for another. So I think that's an amazing, when I learned that was actually like a life-changing fact and a life-changing shift in the whole purpose of really seeing that like God was really giving opportunities for them to like really work things out and make peace and actually come to the other side of the good, which really was within it. Okay, now let's move on with the letter of the month. The letter of the month is the letter Ayin. Now, Ayin means to see. The Ayin is the eye, and it's connected to the idea of sight. So this month is connected to rectified sight. Now, what does that mean? We can see, and we can also, and our sight can actually limit us. Our sight can actually limit us from actually seeing through the truth of reality. We could see things on a very surface level of reality. And that actually, our sight can actually distract us or take us away from the truth of really what's happening. So what is the ayin? What is the sight? What is this rectified sight of the month of Tevet? The rectified sight of the month of Tevet is really seeing through surface level reality. Seeing through to our essence, seeing ourselves in a much deeper way, seeing our circumstances, seeing seeing things that are happening in the world in a much deeper way for really what they are. And that, again, that's what we saw with the month of Tevet, with the fast of Tevet, of the 10th day of Tevet, that what even was the purpose of the destruction even was for the rebuilding, that we should see godliness. When the temple is going to be rebuilt, when Mashiach is going to come, what are we going to say? We're going to actually see with our eyes. In a physical way, we're going to actually see God with our eyes. And I feel like this month is really a month that, again, it's a very practical month, a very, earthy month. And that could, again, distract us from seeing our essence, because we could see ourselves in kind of a very external way. But really, when we peel through the layers of the month, we actually see that the whole purpose of the month is to really see through to the core of ourselves, the core of reality, the core of the godly potential within ourselves and within the world. And how do we get there? What is the energy in this month that actually takes us to that place is Chanuka. But it says on Chanuka specifically, there was an idea of sitting for 30 minutes, gazing at the Chanuka lights. And through gazing at the Chanuka lights, it says that we literally rectify our eyes to see really the concealed and hidden potential that's within ourselves. And when we see the hidden potential that's really there within ourselves, we can able to illuminate that outside of ourselves. When we really come and really see who we are, who we are really in reality and see our potential. So that's a really amazing energy that's available for us again this month to really see through. And it's really like a meditation we should take upon ourselves this month to really like see and really close our eyes. Because I feel like we have to really, in order to see correctly, we really have to close our eyes and really see through that potential, that light that's within our souls that's just waiting to be illuminated, that is being illuminated, but seeing it for really what it is. And it's like a really amazing, I could say almost like practice or meditation that we can take upon ourselves this month to really do that, to really see ourselves and see others in a much deeper way. Okay, now, first of all, again, any other questions, comments? Anything?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
I just thought it was interesting. It struck me when you were talking about the destruction of the temple and how when we put ourselves into the relevancy of today, we're at a time in Jewish history that's quite historic with this new government coming in, and yet it's causing so much unrest and so much, it's stirring up so much hatred. I was just listening to something today about 300 leading rabbis in the US are condemning this new government, and they're going to do whatever it takes to not allow any member of the new government to come into their area, into their synagogues or into their community.
Oh, wow.
Which is a huge stand for Jews against Jews. So I just thought, wow, that's happening in Tevet.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And I know, I think those type of things can really bring us down, and we can hear those things and we can get like, wow, very like, but when we actually see, like we can actually open our eyes and try to see it for what it is, that there is just something much bigger than ourselves going on right now. And obviously, if we're so close to Mashiach being revealed and we're so close to Geula, there has to be only good within it. Like, again, this whole month of Tevet, like who would ever, I mean, until I learned this, like this was actually like a life-changing fact. Like the siege around Jerusalem is happening. Nebuchadnezzar is going and putting a siege around Jerusalem. How could that be good? You know? But we always see, again, I think that's really what the mystical teachings of the Torah actually teach us, to really look at the other side, to really see unity, to come into unity consciousness, that God is really, there's one unified field of energy, and to really look past duality, to really see there has to be good in this government. Like, again, I don't want to get political here, but I really believe that, God is good and God only wants to reveal Mashiach. So I try to see things for that and that with those eyes, really, because otherwise we could go crazy. We could really go crazy, if we turn on the news with a different lens and a different eyes, of it could bring us down.
No, and I apologize if I was kind of bringing in a negative twist.
No, not at all.
Because I was thinking, even with the fast, it can really encourage us to just pray more deeply, for our brothers and sisters who are still, in the cycle of hatred, which we've been trying to break free from ever since the first destruction of the temple.
Exactly.
So I think it's a time for us to almost like that fast to stand in the gap. Exactly.
And to realize the power of prayer and the power of putting out good vibes in the world. Like, the power of us, our souls, we're all interconnected. Again, that's this year of Hakel, this year of unity, that the power of our souls are also interconnected. We're energy. Our souls are energy. And if we just putting out that good intention in the world, and we're putting out that just prayer for our fellow brothers and sisters, in the world, we don't realize the ripple effects that has, It does. It really, 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 really does. It's a true thing. Like, we can have, just through our prayers and through our consciousness and through our love, we bring more love into the world. And to really believe that about ourselves, that we have that power. Brenda.
It seems to me though, too, that as we do that, as I close my eyes and try to pull and really see the truth in the matters, here with what you're talking about, we've got two what seem to be polar extremes. And yet the truth of it to me is that pulling the truth from each side into the center to see the truth in the revealed life. It's like that balance, pulling, in the Hesed with the Gevurah and seeking what the truth will come out, and the light will shine bright when that center, is reached and magnified. When you pull the darkness out of both sides. Absolutely. And the light comes through, it seems to me, hopefully, that we're going to see that light.
That's beautiful. Absolutely. I love that. So true. Because we can get so caught up in like, my side is right and my side is right. And it's not true. Listen, there's different souls in the world. I mean, there's different soul roots. What you're saying, there's like souls that come from the side of Chesed, souls that come from the side of Gvura. None is good, none is bad, none is right, none of them are wrong. But when we can actually both look at each other and see the good in the other, even if we don't, in ourselves, if we don't feel that that's truth for us, because it may not be our truth. It may not be our mission in the world to connect to that truth. It may not be our soul root, but when we see that, that's harmony. That's peace. That's true peace and harmony and unity. Absolutely. Brenda, I see your hands up.
I just have a quick question. First of all, a quick statement. I can't think of anyone more perfect to talk about a month of practicality than you, Miriam. It seems to be one of your biggest gifts to me. But to that end, I have a question about the candles, because not only is it so wonderful to watch them for a half an hour or even more to restore our sight over Hanukkah, but now I'm wondering, as a newbie, I also practice it somewhat at Shabbat, but I've never been consistent. And do you think that would be a good practice as we go through these days of what I call ever increasing lightness? Because if I think of it the other way, it's overwhelming. So I choose not to go there. It doesn't mean I'm Pollyanna. And it doesn't mean I don't recognize this stuff is happening. It's just, I want to choose life this day. And with that, have you ever heard a teaching, or what's your opinion on maybe to elongate this practice of restoring, a good eye to things with the Shabbat candles? Would that be appropriate, or do you think that would be a good thing?
Listen, I mean, Shabbat candles are powerful. Like, we're literally drawing down, light into this world. So I've never seen it brought down, but again, I think when it's the consciousnness that we do things, and like, if we do things with that consciousness of actually rectifying our eyes and seeing the light, and I mean, a candle is a metaphor for our soul. I mean, to me, that's beautiful. Like, why not? Of course, that's absolutely so beautiful. Okay. Beautiful.
And you're also dressed like a candle today. Isn't that interesting? So, but bless you. I think I will pursue that, because I'm at a point where I can do that. It's just, I think it could be really helpful to have that focus, to draw that energy and continue it into the year. I also had to laugh about you saying the letter Ein was the letter of the month, because I just shared with a friend who was having a birthday, and things were a little tight. I said, well, you can make a good eye cookie cutter. And what you do is you take a tin can, you cut out both ends, and then you gently, with the sturdy shoe, step on it, and you make an eye shape. Okay. And so that would be a wonderful practical thing to do too with your children or something this month, but to make a good eye. And so, but thinking again of practical things, that it's like seeing the color yellow, like you're wearing today, and to think, we need more light, and that business of how do we access that practically. I'm leaning into you, because you always have wonderful practical ways to do that. I can't tell you how many times you've been a blessing to my life that way. It's almost jaw-dropping to me. So I want to thank you. But anything to that end, because it sounds like a month where you really need to set the wheel in motion for this, what some people see as a dark time, but really it's not. We've hit the day where now everything becomes more and more light, and to keep that in our frontal lobes. I'm leaning into you, Miriam. That's what I'm doing. So bless you.
Amazing. I see Chaya wrote something. Shabbos is Malchus. We are celebrating. So we are. So are we. Yeah, celebrating you, Brenda. Amazing. That's so, yeah. That's what Shabbos is. Shabbos is called Malchut. It's a day of elevation, a day of revealing, like the world actually rise up. So, when we're bringing down the light, as the energies are actually ascending, that's such a beautiful, it's so beautiful. And I do make that a practice. I do love to look at the Shabbos Kabbalahs, but thank you, Brenda, for that idea. Because I think, and with that consciousness, that's definitely going to bring more light into everyone's life. So thank you. Okay, now let's move on with the tribe of the month. So now we're going to get a little bit not sticky, but it's going to be interesting here, because we're going to see again how there's always so many contradictory energies. And if we don't really know, if we don't really look at it through the lens of the mystical teachings of the Torah, we could really get confused and be like, not understand how to reconcile this. So the tribe of the month is the tribe of Dan. Now, Dan literally means to judge. Dan comes from the word ladun, or which is to judge. And Dan, or din, which is judgment, comes from the left side, which is the side of Gevura. Gevura is the left side of the sfirot, of our soul powers, which means to judge, or awe, or restraint, or holding back. Now, Kabbalistically, it's taught that although Gevura could seem judgment, it could seem awe, it could seem very intense energy, it's actually rooted in the highest source of chesed, of God's kindness. That when we actually go in to that energy and we actually elevate it up to the source, it's called, what happens is hamtakat hadinim, that we actually sweeten the judgments. So what is the energy of this month? When we can use the power of sight, either, God forbid, to judge with an evil eye and to look at things negatively, or the rectification of this month is actually to go in and take that power of sight and go and use the power of Gvura, which is to go inward, to contract inward, to go into ourselves and transform and rectify the sight and rectify the Gvura to its source, which is God's kindness, which is chesed, which is the loving energy, which we're speaking about this whole year. Now, what does it say about Dan? Dan, it says, is likened to a snake who bites with a venom of anger. That's what the Talmud actually says about Dan. Now, Rav Tzadok HaKohen explains that the rectification of Dan is engaging in the battle of holy anger versus evil anger, right? There's a difference between, when like a person is upset, they're angry. And they're just angry, they're just like spilling over all their feelings and all their emotions, and they're just angry. But what is done represents this idea of holy anger. It's called of kedusha, of actually holy anger. So what does that really mean for ourselves? In our lives, sometimes we can we see where we're holding and we feel like we're stuck. I've been in that place where all of a sudden I just feel so stuck. Now I could get stuck in that feeling, and I can get upset at myself, and I could get down on myself, and I could judge myself negatively. And when I'm in that energy of judging myself negatively, then I'm judging other people negatively, right? Or what can I do with that energy? And then I could actually take the energy of Gevura, go inward, actually sit with myself, go into myself, and then I can actually rectify that anger. When I actually use it for what it is. Whenever we're angry, whenever we're upset at something, there's usually a fear, there's an anxiety, there's something underneath the anger. And when we actually use the energy of anger, because we can think of anger as like a negative emotion, a negative energy. But when we actually take that energy and we go inward with it, instead of going outward and blaming it, you're the problem, this one's the problem, that one's the problem, everyone else is the problem. But when we actually can go inward and reflect inward, then we can actually transform it from anger, that's evil anger, that's not productive anger, to actually holy anger, which actually propels us to grow. And that's really the power. And when we do that, then we have hamtakat hadinim, we actually sweeten the judgments. We sweeten the judgments of ourselves, of how we view ourselves, and then we sweeten the judgments of how we view others. And we're living in so much more of a loving, kind, expansive energy. Now, yeah, and I think again, that's like something that when we start off the year, like we're going into the new year again, that the energy of done, of like setting boundaries, you know, when we're getting into this month again of goals and practicality. So we can take this energy to really set boundaries with ourselves and set boundaries with others and really reach our goals, which is actually the ultimate kindness and chesed and love for ourselves. And we're actually stepping into our potential and our possibilities through utilizing this energy of Gvura that's available for us this month. Now, another fact about done, it says about done that what it says, sages teach that only one from the soul root of done can jump up and kill the evil snake. And it says, the sages say, one like him killed him. Okay, very interesting idea. Now, what is the idea of a snake? Now, a snake, we know, is the primordial snake, goes back to the primordial snake in the Garden of Eden. And that snake had a very negative connotation. It's like the source of the evil inclination, the source of the Yetzer Hara. But the snake actually is the same numerology as the numerology of 358, which is the same numerology as Mashiach. So the holy spark of Dan represents, it says, a spark of Mashiach. Because what is it? Mashiach energy is actually called the time of Gevura. When Mashiach comes, we're going to be living from this very inward place, this very connected, very deep to ourselves, to our essence, in a very inward way. And when we do that work now of like going into the fears, going into ourselves, actually facing ourselves, what do? We transform ourselves and we actually do come into our own geula, our own transformation. And the Zohar actually says that the commander of the chief of the army of Mashiach is actually going to come from the tribe of Dan. So again, this energy of judgment, the energy of holy anger versus righteous anger, and the energy of transforming what could seem like judgment into actually propelling us for growth is really available for us this month, which is really, really powerful because we think of judgment, a time of din, again, Tevet, it's like dark month, the 10th of Tevet. But again, when we see that the source of this energy is actually God's love, God's kindness, and the greatest expression of love for ourselves, then we can transform these energies into what they are, which is potential for us to grow and transform ourselves. Now that goes into the sense for the month. The sense of the month is actually anger. So that's what the sense of the month is anger. And that goes into, again, what we're speaking about done, that there's holy anger. Holy anger is the rectification of this month, where we go into a place and we feel stuck and we actually say, okay, you know what, I'm not giving up on myself. I'm going to actually go in and transform this. Or God forbid, a person could just be stuck there, and that's unrectified anger. But this month, I was actually thinking, how do we know when it's righteous anger or when it's just unrectified anger? How do we know? And I really feel like we have to really be very intuitive to what's happening in our body. When we're really coming from a place of like righteous gvura, when we're holy anger, when we're really upset for and we're actually using it to grow, we actually feel expansive. We feel good. We feel light. We feel joyful. We feel hopeful. But when we're taking that energy and using it actually in an unhealthy way, then we feel very constricted. We feel very tight. We feel very contracted. And that's a way I really feel to tap into the frequency of holy anger versus the unholy anger and unrectified anger. Because sometimes these energies, these are energies. Again, our souls are energies, and we have to start noticing in our body what these energies really are supposed to feel like. And that's going to help us in becoming tuned to where we are, where we're holding with these energies within ourselves. And I think that's a really important point to notice this month. Now, the body part of this month is called the liver. And actually, according to Chinese medicine, I don't know, I'm not so familiar, but I've done a little bit of research with Chinese medicine. It says that the liver is actually the place where we store anger. And according to Kabbalah, the liver corresponds actually to the primordial snake, whose rectification is personified by Dan. It says there are three rulers of the body. There's the brain, the heart, and the liver, and they're connected to Adam, Eve, and the snake. So the snake, again, is this unrectified anger. But again, this month is a month to actually like clean out the liver, to actually go in and propel those emotions actually and utilize them for really what they are, which is actually to come to a more place of wholeness and connection and love for ourselves when we actually use it as a way of propelling ourselves instead of holding ourselves in that energy of constriction. Now, it says that the venom of the snake actually is hot. The venom that the snake gives off is hot, like the fire of anger. So when we do the work this month, which is to convert it to good, to transform those energies, to transform that heat, that anger, that righteous anger to holy anger, then what happens that the fire and the blood of the liver, the whole energy of ourselves, of our body, of our whole energy shifts. And that really serves to warm up the coldness of Tevet. That although it's like a cold month, that when we actually do this work, what do? We actually warm ourselves up. We open ourselves up. We propel ourselves. We actually grow. We can actually use it as a platform to growth and to actually for greatest healing to actually happen this month. There's a lot of amazing, I feel like, potential hidden in this month. And we have to really remember again that the energy is good. It's Tov, it's good. I feel like, again, this month could feel very intense. There's a lot of intensity and it could feel like a month of judgment, but we have to remember it's Tov, it's good, it's light, it's connected to the light of Chanuka, to see the good within ourselves, to see the potential that we have within ourselves. And when we do that, we see the potential in others and open ourselves up to really transform that energy of Gvura to its highest source, to the energy of love and kindness for ourselves and for the entire world. Anyone else have any questions or comments or anyone else?
Miriam, I just want to add one thing that came to mind as you were speaking. I think it's Rabbi Dover Pinson who wrote a book. You know, he writes books on different months, but about the tribe of Dan, he made the comment one time, I think, if I'm wrong, it's my fault, not his, but it was that the tribe of Dan was known for being the tribe that came at the very end when they moved, because they knew where to look for the fallen sparks. And as you were talking, I never put the two together, but how often do we, when we're trying to rectify our sight for good, it's easy for some of us anyway to do that. For others, it's like just second nature. But for ourselves, to sit in the dark and to look for the sparks, those boundaries that are ourselves, that we set for ourselves, and to reach around in that darkness and pick out those sparks and bring them to us so that we can move forward with more strength. But that was something that came to my mind while you were talking about Dan. But have you heard that about him being the one, that tribe was the one that they could find the sparks that no one else could. Wow. And after your today, that kind of really fits for me. Do you think that's right? Am I remembering correctly?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I think Judah was in the front and Dan was in the back. Yeah. And it actually says, I think, that with the temple was built by Bezalel and by what was his name? I forgot, but he actually also came, I remember, from the tribe of Dan. They were the two.
I think it was something Oliav or something.
Yes.
I can't.
And he was from the tribe of Dan, if I remember correctly. And yeah, that the tribe of Dan, exactly. They're like there to elevate the sparks, because it's that element. Yes. It's really that element of din, of the judgment, that actually is the element of Gvura that's able to do that work. It's like that element of going inward. Yes, and Shimshon, exactly. Shimshon's also from the tribe of Dan. it's actually through that element of gvura where we see as judgment, awe, discipline as like something very harsh. But actually it's an energy it's a very powerful energy that can actually has a lot of strength. There's a lot of strength in gvura that can actually do that to actually elevate sparks and to and they were there to actually protect the borders. Because there's a lot of strength in that gevura that actually can be used for the good, used for the power of what it is. Yeah, that is a teacher. I have heard that. Thank you for reminding me of that. I didn't like put that together now, but thank you. Yeah, thank you.
You know, it would be perfect from what you said that Mashiach would choose his general or the chief of his army to be someone who really, really understood the power and presence of boundaries, and also the ability to look where no one else could look to find those sparks. Because to me, that would make a really good captain. I mean, that just sort of fits that profile. So, but bless you, Miriam. I don't want
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Chaya, so I'm wondering if Shimshon went to Plishtim to redeem the sparks. I do remember reading that somewhere, actually. Yes. Yeah. Because it's that energy of gvura, that energy of that discipline, that really going inward, that's able to go up to the source to redeem these sparks at the source of really what they are. Right? That's that energy of like going up and elevating and redeeming the sparks, of going up to the source for what it really is. So I do remember reading that also with Shimshon. I don't remember where, but I do remember actually reading that as well. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a powerful month. And again, I feel like after Chanuka, I don't know, you could feel like, okay, now it's the 10th of Tevet, and it feels like a little like, like a downward energy. But when we actually look into the month of really what it is, according to the Sefer Yetzirah, we see how much light really is there for us. And it's really powerful. Yeah, anyone else have any questions or comments? Anyone? Chaya, where are you from? Can you speak more into New Jersey? Very nice. Okay, can you speak more into discipline and boundaries? It's been my challenge. Wow. This is actually like a big topic of mine. Actually, this is like one of my actually favorites. Okay, so where do I start? I think that as a whole, there's a lot of confusion around discipline and boundaries. I mean, again, especially for people that didn't see it, they never were able to model it in a healthy way, because maybe it wasn't given over in a healthy way as a child. And for the rest of our lives, we can carry this very negative connotation about what discipline really is. Now, again, when we look at it Kabbalistically, discipline is the highest expression of love. And again, we said that the gvura goes up to the source and it accomplishes what's called hantakas hadinim, that it actually sweetens the judgment. Now, every one of the sfirot of these soul powers are connected to a different one of the chariots of the seven shepherds. So gvura is connected to Yitzchak. Now, Yitzchak, if we look at the root word of the word Yitzchak comes from the root word tzchok, which is laughter. So we could think of gvura, we don't think of the energy of laughter, right? We would think of chesed, of kindness, of love, as actually really being more described as laughter. But yet, gvura is the ultimate expression of love. When we put a boundary with someone else, or we put a boundary for ourselves, it's the ultimate expression of love that we can really have for another person. So when we really say to someone and when we really step into self-love for ourselves, we're like, okay, I'm not going to take this. I'm not going to be treated this way. This is not working for me. We're actually really expressing the greatest love that we have for another person, because a person who's acting in a way that's making us feel not good, right? Their soul in its core doesn't want to do that, right? They're really, their subconscious, their soul, and they may not be conscious of it, but their soul in itself, every soul doesn't want to treat another person in a negative way. So when we're putting up a boundary with someone and we're saying like, That's not going to work for me. Like, I'm not going to be treated that way. I mean, when we actually teach people how we want to be treated by putting up proper boundaries for ourselves, then what do? We actually express to them love. It's an expression of love boundaries. So I think there's a lot of like rewiring that has to happen around Gvura. I think there's so many negative connotations, but it's actually really the ultimate expression of love that we really can have. And I think it's like, it's a real, and it says that the time of Mashiach is going to be called the time of Gvura, the time of more of these boundaries, where we're each going to know and we're each going to respect each other for who they are. You know, we live in a world, I think there's a lot of like emotional enmeshment and entanglement, a lot of like codependency in the world that we live in, where a lot of people are in this, you know, and I think like a lot of the social media world, I mean, I have so much I could go on and on about this, but the world of social media, the world of like where, you know, we're always looking at other people to like how they're viewing us, and we become so entangled in other people. But really, the divine soul within us knows our worth and knows our value. We don't need others to actually own our worth and own our value. So having boundaries of really knowing who we are, what we stand for, how we want to be treated, how we allow other people to treat us, is the greatest expression of love that we could have for ourselves and we can have for another person. And we can really only love another person when we know to have boundaries, because then we actually are able to, like, there's no entanglement, there's no enmeshment. We see them for who they are us, we really appreciate and respect and love each other for who they are. And it's really at the core of healthy relationships is boundaries. There's a lot to say on this. But Kabbalistically, I think when we actually look at it as its source, it really shifted my perspective personally on boundaries. Brenda, what did she say? Rabbi Avram loves this book, Shimshon's Struggle. It's expensive, no, on Amazon, perhaps you can find it. Oh, wow. Shimshon's Struggle. Wow. That's amazing. He has amazing books, Rabbi Avram Chagrin. Really, really special. So thank you so much, everyone. This was so wonderful. Thank God the internet did held in there. Thank God. We started, I knew we'd have a rocky start, but I knew it was going to be good. It always means that good things are to come. So thank you all, everyone. Have a beautiful month. And God willing, we'll be back next month.
Thank you so much. It was beautiful.
Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful month.
Thank you.
Day. Okay. Bye-bye.